Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Kansas Missing and Unsolved podcast. And joining me tonight is Derek Relaford. We were going to have Ashley back tonight, but she was unable to join us. She'll be back with us next week. Hope everybody's doing well out there in light of everything that's going on right now and everything, staying healthy and safe. I'm doing my part, doing the 5 that they're talking about doing. So, washing my hands, and if I'm coughing or sneezing, which I'm not, make sure I'm doing this number. And
Were you affected in the new Kansas stay-at-home order at all? Like, did it affect your job anymore? Or?
No, we're considered an essential store, the store that I work at, so it's not affecting us at all. I mean, we're closing like 2 hours earlier during the week so we can clean and disinfect and bleach and things like that. So we can try to stay on top of the germs that way, hopefully.
Yeah. Same. We're here in Phoenix. We have quite a few cases, so we haven't really left the house in a couple weeks. Today, we took a chance, kind of, and let my brother and my mom and dad come over for my son's birthday,
Yeah.
and we had some burgers, had some cake and stuff. But they've been pretty much staying at home, minus my dad going to physical therapy once a week.
Yeah.
So hopefully everything's good, but anybody listening and watching, hopefully you're staying home, staying safe, washing your hands,
Yeah.
and sitting still during all this so we can get through it together.
Yeah, and our governor just did over the weekend issue a statewide stay-at-home order just right after Saline County that I'm in issued one as well. So you're telling everybody, unless you absolutely have to go out for groceries or gas or the bank or the doctor's office, stay home as much as possible to try to, slow or even hopefully stop the spread of this stuff. Here in Saline County, we've finally got our first documented case. It was a lady in her 50s that traveled to Kansas City. And a few days before that, we had one of the emergency room nurses here in town was confirmed positive. She lives in Ottawa County, so they're classifying her case as actually in Ottawa County rather than in Saline County. So far, that's where we're at here.
Well, it's the virus has been in big news pretty much since we started this show. So
Yeah.
I guess that's a little bit of an update as far as what we know, as far as what's going on. Again, stay safe and keep your hands washed, and God willing, we all get through this together. You want to go ahead and start off with some cases tonight? Or?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start off with some cases. Let's kind of get on to some other things here. And I think everybody's probably getting to be in the same boat I'm in and wanting to kind of move away from, staying aware of what's going on with the virus, but kind of wanting to move away from it a little bit at the same time.
Let's forget about it for a little bit.
Yeah. So let's see, we're going to start off tonight with Alex LaRussa, who is missing from Salina, Kansas, here where I'm from. He's been missing since December 8th, 2017. He was 25 when he went missing. He would now be 27. Last contact he had with his family was at 4 a.m. on December 8th, 2017. He's wheelchair bound as his left leg is amputated above the knee. The vehicle that he was last seen in has been found northeast of Salina, out in a rural area, with his wheelchair and other personal belongings inside, but he is yet to have been found himself. To my understanding, foul play is suspected in his case. As I mentioned, he was 25 when he went missing. He'd now be 27. 6'2", weighs 175, has black hair, brown eyes, has a tattoo on the left side of his chest that says pain, and he has one of a star on his chest as well. If you have any information regarding Alex's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, you can call the Salina Police Department at 785-826-7210 or call the Salina Crime Stoppers number, which is 785-825-8477, or you can text SA Tips to Crimes 274637, or visit www.pd.salina.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit a web tip. You may receive a cash reward of up to $1,000, and you're not required to give your name. Hopefully, getting his case out here again. I try to keep it out there as much as I can. I stay in touch with an uncle of his pretty regularly, and he's asked me to share his flyers from time to time. And whenever there's an anniversary of his birthday or the day he went missing or whatever, he'll message and ask me to share the flyer again. So I hope he does see that we're doing Alex tonight on the show. You guys have any questions?
That's 6'2", 175 pounds. He was 25 at the time of his disappearance.
Mm-hmm.
So add 2 years to these photos.
And again, if you guys have any comments or anything you want to post under the video tonight, go ahead and we'll get through those as we're going through the show tonight as well. And
2 years to be missing somebody.
mm-hmm.
When we do this show, this is our 4th episode. Some of these people have been missing for decades and stuff. It's crazy. Like 2 years seems like a lifetime. Then you have some of these people that has been like 15, 20, 30 years. And that's probably like the worst feeling ever, like, because there's no resolution. You have no idea. Like you can't mourn, you can't do anything really because you have no idea. It's in the air. So
Right.
hearts out to the people who are involved with anything like that, with missing somebody. That's a terrible situation. We're moving on to our next guest, our
Mm-hmm.
next flyer. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, Charles Everett McHenry III. Charles went missing from Great Bend, Kansas, May 6, 2016. He was 27 at the time of his disappearance. He'd now be 31. He was last known to be driving an unknown make two-door black car. Tag is also unknown. He was 6'2", 180 pounds, black hair, black eyes. I'll have to verify that on the eyes. I wonder if it's supposed to be brown and have black. He has tattoos on his left arm. One is of the cross. It says Tyler on his upper arm, and an eagle with the flag on the lower arm, which is up pictured on the flyer there. His eyebrow and his left ear are pierced. He has a large scar near his left knee, a large scar on his right forearm from the elbow to the wrist, a scar on his right knee, a scar on his forehead, scars on both sides of his ribs, a scar on the bottom of his left foot, and a dimple dip in the left bicep. He has a plate in his right arm from his elbow to his wrist and 2 screws in his left knee. And if you have any information regarding Charles's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, you can call the Great Bend, Kansas Police Department at 620-793-4120, or you can call the KBI, and we'll get that number up there for you here, 785-296-4017. And again, he's been missing for a few years now, and there's family members that would really like to know what happened to Charles and have some answers to those questions. If anybody has any information, no matter how small you feel it may be, please call it in and report that. And hopefully it'll help, lead to some answers for the family.
Charles Everett McHenry III.
Mm-hmm.
So he's missing from Great Bend. Did you mention in the rundown where he's actually from, where he spent most of his time while he was in Kansas?
I believe he's just from Great Bend. I haven't heard if he's from anywhere and moved to Great Bend or just from Great Bend. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Missing since May of 2016. So long ago.
Yeah, coming up on 4 years and about a little over a month. That's quite a long time.
So you've had this flyer for a while now?
Yeah, I've updated it 2 or 3 times. I initially did it back in 2016, so I think this is probably my 4th update on it.
If anybody has any information.
Yeah.
There's a KBI number one more time, 785-296-4017.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, please don't hesitate to call in any tips or information that you may have on his case or any of these cases. Please do that.
So I know that the chatter and the messages in the Kansas Missing and Unsolved Facebook page is usually pretty rampant. Has anything new happened in the last week since we talked last? Any sightings or any updates on anything? Not even about the flyers we've covered, but just maybe in general.
The last couple of days, I have posted quite a few flyers, mostly juveniles. Let's see, from the Topeka area, the Wichita area, over by Kansas City, that area there. A couple of them have been found located safe already, hoping to get some more of them located. Hopefully these flyers will generate information to get them located. I haven't really seen anything on as far as any of the older cases, any updates on any of the older cases, but because I'm always putting out new flyers all the time. I've done, I've done one today so far. I've got a second one that I'm waiting on an approval from family on before I can post it. Hopefully I'll have it up, hopefully either later this evening or in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
There's never a shortage of flyers to be made.
yeah, I will say this. It's an unsolved homicide from 1970s. So hopefully I can get that one up, like I say, either later on tonight or tomorrow, depending on when I can get approval from the family.
Yeah, it's like you think about it. Some of these cases happened 49, 50 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you almost want to just give up. You're just like, oh, they'll never solve that. You just put it in that part of your mind. It's like, oh, well, they'll never solve that. They haven't done it in 50 years. But the truth is, they solve crimes older than that all the
Yeah,
time.
that's true. That's
They're
true.
working with a whole new bag of tricks these days, and evidence pending. They can find out a lot of information. But they usually generate on getting tips. They don't know where to look unless somebody tells them where
Right.
to go and everything. So, and a lot of people are scared to reach out to law enforcement when they know something about an unsolved crime
Yeah.
or a missing person because there's a lot of reasons to be nervous about doing that. But we have Crime Stoppers. You can always call anonymously. I do understand how people would be hesitant to do something like this, but that's the time. That's when you're needed the most. And you can do it anonymously, but definitely if you know something, you need to say something because you could help. Make the day for a lot of people that have been
Mhm.
looking for answers for a long time.
Right. And I'm going to put out there too that Facebook pages like this one are becoming more and more important to not only the families of these missing people and victims of unsolved murders, but they're also becoming more important for law enforcement to use as tools when they investigate a case for so long and they come up against a dead end or they've exhausted all leads they have on a case. They'll reach out to pages like this and say, hey, can you get this out there and see if we can generate more information on it?
Yeah, true story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we're ready to move on to the next
Yeah.
one? Okay. This one we're going to switch gears on, and I apologize I don't have a photo of Miss Hubbard, but I was unable to find one, and I've been searching high and low for one. The only one I've been able to come up with was from a microfilm from the library, and it was very, very poor quality. But as you can see, this is an unsolved homicide. Nellie Mae Hubbard was murdered here in Salina, Kansas, back on March 14th, 1981. She was found deceased in her residence on the 1000 block of East Elm here in town. She was found on the cot that she slept in her living room. She was covered with a sheet, and the scarf she usually wore was found on the floor. The only evidence of her killer that was found at the scene that I've seen mentioned was the discovery of a Zippo lighter. She didn't smoke, but they found a Zippo lighter, and that's all they've said about it. They haven't said whether it was a plain chrome one or if it had any kind of a distinct design or initials or anything. None of that kind of information has ever been put out there, just that it was a Zippo lighter. They say she put up a struggle during her attack. She ultimately died of asphyxiation. She also suffered 8 broken ribs. One was broken in 2 places. She also had a broken bone in her throat. Also had an injury to the back of her skull. She also had bruises on her arms, and there was evidence of other internal injuries. Upon searching the Hubbard's home, investigators found $93,000 in cash throughout the house and over $100,000 in CDs or certificates of deposit, and a large quantity of silver coins dating back to 1986. Investigators also discovered that Hubbard's home was filled with miscellaneous household items and other clutter that made 2 bedrooms completely unusable. That's why she slept on a cot in the living room. And I was also told or seen that she would heat up coals and tuck them down into the foot of her cot to keep herself warm in that cot. If you have information regarding Nellie's homicide, please call the Salina Police Department at 785-826-7210. And also, I'm going to share the Crime Stoppers numbers again, 785-825-8477, or text SA tips to crimes 274637, or visit the www.pd.salina.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit a web tip. You may receive a cash reward up to $1,000, and you're not required to give your name. That's been a case. And I can tell you when that particular homicide happened, I was just starting junior high or middle school, whichever you want to call it, and I actually lived approximately 3 blocks west and a block south of where that happened at that time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was pretty close to my house. Kind of scary.
Did you follow it back then? Like, did you saw it on the news and then you kind of started following it, or?
I really didn't know about it then. I didn't hear about it until sometime later.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like, what, really? Okay, that was kind of close to home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. If anybody has information on her case, please don't hesitate to submit that. My understanding is that she was a very nice older lady, and she did say hi to her neighbors and, waved at them and stuff. And, there was a news article did come out sometime back around the time that happened, that I'm not sure how many people are familiar with serial killers, Otis Toole and Henry Lee Lucas. They were uh, uh, team serial killers that apparently crisscrossed the country and committed murders all over the country in a bunch of different states. And Otis Toole claimed responsibility for Nellie's murder at one point in time, but it was dismissed because they had also claimed responsibility for a lot of other murders that were proven that they weren't involved in. So investigators really didn't take that confession too seriously. Just a little side note to that case.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, is there anything new? Usually, when we end the show, we talk about like some things that have like been in the news that maybe not that don't super pertain to what we're doing, but in the missing persons realm. Is there any like national movements you've seen like with missing cases?
I did see one. It was a young lady named Paige Johnson, I believe is what her name was. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. She went missing, I want to say in Ohio or Kentucky, one or the other. I just saw an article the other day where her remains had been found and identified. They were located in Ohio.
Okay.
See if I can find here real quick. If Google would speed up for me here.
That's no problem. We'll edit this part out of the podcast. Don't worry.
No problem. Uh,
No, I mean, because ever since we started doing the show, I started paying more attention to this kind of stuff, and like like I guess it's a sign of that things will actually come to resolution eventually. Because a lot, you watch the news and you see a lot of these cases that do end up getting further along. They find either a body or things that can actually just start answering a lot more questions and move cases along that have been stagnant for a long time.
right. Yeah, Paige went missing in 2010 from northern Kentucky, and her remains were just found on March 22nd in a Claremont County, Ohio field. Let's see. It says that the rural scene where Johnson's remains were found, the tracks of a backhoe are next to the tracks of a deer. Flowers are left at the foot of a tree marked with orange paint where the remains were found. And I'm not sure really what the circumstances behind her disappearance were, but I do remember the case. Not long after I got into being a missing persons advocate, I remember it was one of the first ones that I had read about. She went missing September 23rd, 2010. She was last seen with a man named Jacob Bumpus from northern Kentucky. So I don't know if I would assume they're looking at it as a foul play situation.
Yeah.
I'm not for sure. I mean, she was found in the field. I mean,
Yeah, generally that would be a foul play
yeah.
flag.
Yeah, so that case is not quite 10 years old, it'll be 10 years old in September, but it's nice to see that some of these older cases are getting some closure and some answers finally.
Yeah, and I think about that sometimes, because there's so many open cases,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, why can't they be solved? But I think we've proven in 4 weeks that there's so many of them
Oh
and
yeah,
there's only so many detectives and so many people that can investigate these things, and they can only
yeah,
spend so much time on each one before they have to move on to the next one. So
yeah,
this type of stuff moves at a glacial pace, but it's good to know that it's moving. It is moving.
yeah. Yeah. She was 17 when she went missing. This Jacob Bumpus. She was last seen with him on September 23rd. She had just turned 17. He was 22. He claimed that he dropped her off at 15th and Scott Street in Covington around 1 a.m., but his phone never pinged there, according to authorities. Instead, his phone pinged in Florence, Kentucky around that time, then also pinged at East Fork Lake between 4:15 and 4:30 a.m.
Wow.
Jacob Bumpus was filed or was involved in a wrongful death lawsuit involving Page's case. He pleaded the fifth as it was a civil case versus criminal case. To this day, he won't say a word about what happened. Huh. Yep. They were found in the woods near State Route 276 and eastbound State Route 32, just a mile and a half from where Bumpus' phone pinged near East Fork Lake. I suspect there's at least a couple people out there that ought to be really nervous right now, and I'm glad because those are people that could have brought some compassion and some answers to Page's family a long, long time ago, and they chose not to do that. Sanders said of Page's investigation was a quote taken from WCPO9's website. And apparently they feel like they're getting close to solving the case.
Well, that's great. A lot of people don't realize that, but
And they're
you
saying
know,
even if you've left a tip before, please call again with any details that might be the missing piece her detectives need. And they're asking people to call Covington Police at 859-292-2222. And you can leave an anonymous tip at that number as well.
one thing I've realized is that people that know stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they do tell people this kind of stuff. Um, so like usually when you hear about somebody getting brought to justice, years later, you'll always find out that there was a couple of friends that were like, yeah, they kind of mentioned something about this.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's if you find out something that terrible that happened, like if you do nothing, like you're enabling evil, in my opinion. And so I think
Yeah.
it's important to do something about it, and it'll make you feel better too. Like
Yeah.
if I knew something and didn't say anything, I think I would eat myself up about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you were mentioning earlier, there's several reasons why people may be afraid to call tips in, worried about, retaliation from somebody or being labeled as a snitch or something like that. That's why a lot of these agencies are providing an anonymous way for you to be able to call in and leave a tip without leaving a name. Crime Stoppers, they don't take names down; they just assign your tip a number, and that's how they backtrack it. Is by saying, okay, tip number 12345 was the tip that you know broke this case or led us in the right direction for this case.
Yeah,
You know, and that's how they identify you. And that's how you collect the reward too, is based on that number, not by a name.
yeah,
Yeah, I've really liked doing this show the last 4 weeks, and I'm really hoping it's making a difference. And I'm hoping it's generating information, generating tips. It's getting people to think about these cases that may have been in the area or around the area, or may have heard something back then, or going, oh yeah, I remember that. Maybe I should call that in. And
yeah.
hopefully they will.
You want to do a quick rundown again?
Yeah, we can run them down again.
Okay, let's go. Let's go with Alex again.
Okay. Alex LaRussa, one of the hometown ones here, went missing from here in Sonic, Kansas, December 8th, 2017. He was 25 when he went missing. He'd be 27 now. He was 6'2", 175 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. Last contact he had with his family was at 4 a.m. on December 8th. He was wheelchair bound as his left leg is amputated above the knee. As I mentioned, his vehicle that he was last seen in was recovered with his wheelchair and his other personal belongings inside, but he is yet to be found himself. He has a tattoo on his left side of his neck that says pain and has one on his chest of a star. If you have any information regarding Alex's disappearance, you can call the Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210, or Crime Stoppers at 785-825-8477. Or you can text SA Tips to Crimes or 274-637, or visit www.pd.salina.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit a web tip. You may receive a cash reward up to $1,000, and you're not required to give your name. And then we'll get on to Charles Everett McHenry III, who was missing from Great Bend, Kansas, May 6, 2016. He was 27 at the time of his disappearance. He would now be 31. He was 6'2", 180, black hair, black eyes. He's last known to be driving an unknown make, two-door black vehicle. Tag is also unknown. Let's see. He was last known to be wearing a black T-shirt and denim shorts. I don't think I mentioned that before. He has tattoos on his left arm. One is of the cross, and it says Tyler. It's on his upper arm. And an eagle with a flag on the lower arm, which there's pictures of those above. His eyebrow and left ear are pierced. And he has numerous scars. One's a large scar near the left knee, a large scar on the right arm from the elbow to the wrist, scar on the right knee, a scar on the forehead, scars on both sides of his ribs, a scar on the bottom of the left foot, and a dimple or dip in the left bicep. He has a plate in his right arm from elbow to wrist and 2 screws in the left knee. If you have any information regarding Charles's disappearance, you can call the Great Bend, Kansas Police Department at 620-793-4120. And then we'll quickly go through the unsolved homicide of Nellie Mae Hubbard. Let's see. It happened on March 14th, 1981. She was found deceased in her residence in the 100 block of East Elm on the cot she slept in her living room. She was covered with a sheet, and the scarf she usually wore was found on the floor. She did put up a struggle during her attack. She died of asphyxiation. Also suffered 8 broken ribs. One was broken in 2 places. She'd also had a broken bone in her throat. She also had an injury to the back of her skull. Also had bruises on her arms, and there was evidence of other internal injuries. Upon searching her house, investigators found $93,000 throughout the house in cash, and over $100,000 in certificates of deposits, and a large quantity of silver coins dating back to 1886. Also discovered that her home was filled with miscellaneous household items and other clutter that made 2 bedrooms unusable. She does deserve to be able to rest in peace. So if you, let's see if we can't help bring her killer to justice. If you have any information, you can call the Salina Police Department at 785-826-7210, or the Crime Stoppers let me get that number up here again real fast here, at 785-825-8477, or text SA Tips to Crimes 274-637, or visit www.pd.salina.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit a web tip. Again, you may receive a cash reward of up to $1,000, and you're not required to give your name. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the only real evidence of her killer that was located in the house was a Zippo lighter. And as I said, there was no details about the Zippo given as far as if it was just a standard chrome Zippo, whether it had any kind of a design or theme to it, or had initials or a name on it, or anything like that. They just pretty much said it was a Zippo and left it at that. So, if you have any information on any of these cases, please don't hesitate to call any of them in.
Yeah.
Right.
So there will be a little bit of we'll be back on the air next Thursday.
Yeah, so we can this Thursday be April 9th.
Yeah, so here in a little while, but yeah, we look forward to coming back and doing some more cases.
And again, the reason for that is we do these on the evenings of my night off. That way I've got, I'm off that day from work, and I can get things ready to go for that evening.
Yeah.
And also see my daughters at the same time. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to fit. Like I said, I was cooking burgers and doing a birthday party, and I looked down and said, "Oh, I have 13 minutes to be on the air." So I ran into the studio, and we're trying. We do this when we can, and we're trying. But yeah, we'll be back next Thursday and with another show.
Yep. And I'm going to start going through trying to decide on which cases we're going to cover. If you guys have any suggestions or any certain ones you want covered, put them in the comments underneath the show, and we'll review them? And have we had any good comments tonight on the show tonight?
I there's something going on with Facebook, and I'm not getting a connection to it. But we are going live to Facebook. But there's something
Okay.
like we didn't have a lot of viewers tonight, and I think it's because there's something going on with Facebook right now. There's actually
Not very.
a message when you come on to do the show that says due to the coronavirus and everybody being on Facebook and streaming, that there's going to
Yeah.
be some features that are messing up. So that's kind of what went on tonight.
Yeah. Because I don't know about on your end, but on my end, I'm seeing me just fine, but you're kind of frozen. You're looking kind of down at the desk, frozen on my end.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can watch it when we're done and see what happened. But yeah,
Yeah.
something was definitely off tonight. But people can watch this later on throughout the week.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a heavy increased internet presence with the stay-at-home orders and shutdowns and everything. I'm sure
Yeah,
there's a huge, huge internet presence going on.
yeah, a lot of people online right now, obviously.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So hopefully everybody's seeing this okay. If not, we apologize. It's circumstances beyond our control. But hopefully, I pray nightly that God will see fit to provide the doctors with the knowledge to help come up with something to fight this stuff.
Yeah.
I really do. Anything else you want to add, Derek?
Uh, just one more time. If you know something, say something.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, please do.
Be anonymous. You don't have to live in fear. Just be anonymous.
Yeah.
Tell the people that do this for a living what you know, and let them do their job.
Yep. I'm trying to make contact with a detective in Topeka that called me yesterday, wanting me to maybe tweak the verbiage on some of the Topeka flyers. So I've got to get with her and see what she wants to do.
Yeah.
I tried calling her back yesterday after I got her voicemail, but she apparently was already out of the office. So I'll try her again in the morning.
Yeah.
See if I can catch her. I'm still, like I say, I'm still been busy putting out flyers. It's amazing how many juveniles are still running in light of everything going on.
Yeah.
It blows
Very
my
nice.
mind. Blows my mind. Guys, just be smart and stay home or stay wherever you're at. Whether you're in a foster home, whether you're in a group home or wherever, just stay put. Don't risk it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to instill in my daughters. They still want to try to go to the park or go to the convenience store or go to Walmart, and it's like we can only do these things when we absolutely have to. We can't do it just because we're bored and we want to go do something.
Yeah, and it's we're going on week 2 of most people being homebound, and you're seeing some online arguments, and people are kind of getting a little stir crazy and stuff. This is an unprecedented time, and it's different. We've never experienced anything like this, and
Yeah.
it's we're all getting to know our roommates very well.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm keeping up, on stuff going on with it too and things like that. And what I'd like to see more of is media talking about, the recovery numbers, which they don't really talk about it all that much. Yeah. Like I was telling you earlier tonight before we went on that we're now over 7,000 in recovered numbers now. Let me pull that up again here real quick. It was 7,082 have recovered, and sadly 3,896 have died, and that's a terrible thing. It's a very terrible thing, and hate to see that. But it'd be just nice to for the media outlets to let people know, hey, people are recovering from it.
Yeah.
And I was commenting back and forth with a lady on Facebook the other day and she sent a link to me and pointing out that even the ones that are recovering are still having issues with diminished lung capacity. And this article went on to say that can be improved over time with going swimming, exercising, doing cardiovascular exercises, things like that. You can build the lungs back up. So it doesn't sound like for a certain amount of them that it will be a permanent thing. It's just a matter of building themselves back up again. So,
Yeah.
Hopefully, and I'm seeing things about a malaria drug may be something that might be being looked at to work. And then there was another one, and I can't remember what ailment it was being used to treat, but it was a vaccine that's been around, they said, for 100 years. And it was one that apparently when it was injected, would leave a little scar on your arm after they gave it to you. And I cannot remember what it was, but I was reading about it the other
Both
day.
of my parents have that scar.
Yeah. So I mean, hopefully they're. It sounds like they're working towards something. They're experimenting here and there and trying different things, and so hopefully they'll finally get to that one thing that'll really be the big one to really help slow it down and hopefully put a stop to it. Hopefully,
Yeah.
but just wish media would get away from so much gloom and doom and start looking for positives. Like I was telling you too, I'd like to see some of them actually try to make contact with some of the ones that have survived and say, hey, what what kind of an ordeal did you go through, and what did you experience, and what did they do to help you, and that kind of thing, just to kind of give us an idea, what kind of things they're doing to treat it.
Some of the light cases I've heard of are people who said that they've had a really bad 4 to 10 days, and then they just kind of cleared it up, but they still wouldn't be considered recovered because I'm sure they're still the virus is still detectable in their body. That's another thing. Like out of that big looming number of people that are sick,
Mm-hmm.
obviously some of them will die, some of them will live. I think the majority of them will live. It's just they're still
Yeah,
detecting the virus in them, but they might have already moved past a lot of the bad stuff.
yeah, yeah. I'm hoping those recovery numbers keep rising, and the that we don't keep losing people to it. That we'll start seeing more and more recover and less die.
Yeah.
Because my heart and my prayers go out to all these families that have lost loved ones, and I know it's hard. I know it's hard.
Yeah.
But let's have to see what
Alrighty.
happens, man. Let's have to see what happens. Everybody out there, stay safe, stay vigilant, do what you got to do to protect yourself and your family, and we'll see you back here next week, next Thursday, April 9th at 9 p.m. Central Time. Till then, God bless and stay safe.
See you later.